Hello and welcome to Bexio. My name is Mark, and in today's video I would like to show you the new purchase model in Bexio, especially the bills and the expenses. The purchase orders haven't been rebuilt, they offer the same functionality as before. We have updated it so that bills can still be created on purchase orders, the new bills. So in this video I would like to talk about the bills and expenses and also have an example for both of them. First, we start with a bill. For example, we get a bill from a vendor, a supplier, and first step will be to create the contact in Bexio. And here I already created the contact 1A Telefonrechnungs GmbH. As soon as you created the contact, you can reopen the contact like here, and then you can click on the right on bank account, and here you can add the bank account of this contact, which you see on the payment slip or on the invoice. Fill in the details, the bank details from the supplier, and save these settings. That's also important or helps you later to do also the payments in Bexio and send it to your e-banking, for example. That's the first step. Also, a setting which you can do before you create your first bill is in the banking part. If you go to the Bexio banking part, here you can create your own bank account with your IBAN number and all this stuff, and depends with which bank you work together, you are also able to connect it with your e-banking. Which banks are possible to connect with Bexio, you will find a list of them on our website bexio.com. And as soon as you have the contact with the bank account on it and also your own bank account in the banking part of Bexio, we can start with the purchases here with a bill. And here we have a new layout like before. Here you see the columns and also the status in a new look. You have for every column here on top you have the option to create a own filter for the date, for the vendor, and so on. And also if you click on the top on the right, you can activate and deactivate these columns. Depends which columns you need to see. You can deactivate, for example, if you don't need to see the reference number, you can deactivate this column and so on. So you can activate it and deactivate it how you like the overview here. You also have on top on the left a search function. Here you can fill in if you search a special bill from a special vendor or with a special reference number. Press enter and then you will find the one with this number or reference number and so on. Or if you search a special amount, you can use this search page here. Okay, so then we create a new bill here. Click on the green button, choose our contact, which we created before. You can also, if you don't know the name, you can click in this blue search field and then you will see all contacts which you have already in Bexio. But I know the name, fill in, choose this contact, create a new bill. And now you see also the new layout. Here we see first on the left the status, also colored now in gray, the status draft, create date, the invoice amount will be changed automatically as soon as we create our first position, and also the contact which we see here. If we choose the wrong one, you can change the contact here. We have the invoice number, that's your own number, and you can also write there another number, for example. And on the next bill, you will see the same number like we saw before, 00034, and so on. But you can write here your own number, You can also create a booking text, the title of this bill, which you also see later in the accounting part of Bexio. So for example, we have now bill for my mobile phone for this month, for example, and then I can also choose the booking date. It's also um, important for the accounting part, and the due date. The due date also, if you create the payment in Bexio, the due date will be automatically the expiration date for your bank account. We see that also later. You can change the currency. If you choose foreign currency here, for example euros, you're also able here to fill in directly the right exchange rate, for example. The vendor reference, if you create the vendor reference, so the reference number which you see on this vendor invoice, and this is also automatically a message. If you have an IBAN payment, it's automatically in the message for the IBAN payment. Contact partner, that's the person who created this invoice. So that's me at the moment. I create this invoice, so I'm automatically the contact partner. And now, new, I have two options. If I have a vendor invoice for one booking account, I just can choose the right booking account here, tax rate, fill in the amount, and that's it. Option B, if you have a vendor invoice where you need more than one booking account. So for example, if you have an invoice for the hardware, your phone, and also you got a coaching, 1 hour for your new phone setup, whatever, then you need most of the time more than one booking account, and in this case you can split it into line items here, and then we have a first line. So here we choose, for example, hardware. That's now in my case, in my example, on the booking account 4,200, and the hardware was 200, and then I add another item. There I had a coaching, and I need that in the account 4,400 for service purchases, for example. If you have questions, if you don't know which booking account or which tag rates you have to choose, please ask your accountant or your trustee. They can tell you that. And then I also fill in the price for the coaching, and so on. I can add another item and another, like we had it in the old version. That's also possible. And on the right, I'm able to upload directly the file. So here I can choose a file from my computer and drag it here into this upload file part, or I also can choose one from my inbox. My inbox in Bexio here in the app part, I'm able to upload with my mobile app Bexio Go, or with my email, or directly from the computer, upload it also in this inbox, and then I can choose it from my inbox. For example, I have here an invoice. I see also the preview of this invoice. That's also a new function. So here it's really nice that you can identify the right invoice and link it to your bill in Bexio. And if you do that first, you also have here the preview and see which positions you have to create for your Bexio bill. And if you have now the receipt, all the positions, the same amount at the end, you can mark this bill as pending. Now the status, you see it here, has changed from draft to pending. Also the color now has changed from gray to green. So I'm already done with the creating part of the invoice, and now I can create the payment. So I click here on new payment, I have now different options. I have the IBAN, the QR invoice, and the other in payment slips, or a manual payment. So if you do the payment or create the payment directly in this bill manually, if you not link it with your bank account or whatever, you can create it also as a manual payment directly here with your bank account, execution date, and also the amount. Save the payment, and then this bill will be in the status paid and the process is finished. Now, if you work together, Bexio and also with your bank, you can also create directly a payment which Bexio send to your bank. And that's possible with IBAN, QR, orange or red payment slips. For example, I choose now the IBAN payment. I see on top my account, which I also saw in the banking part. Here I can decide what should happen with the fees, who should pay them, if there are some fees, the execution date, when it should be debited on the account, also the amount. You can change the amount if you have a partial payment, for example. And then here the IBAN number. If I click on it, I see directly the IBAN number which I have saved on the account from this contact. Also the message to the beneficiary now is the same like the vendor reference. You see it here. That's the same number. Beneficiary, that's the same like the contact informations. And the entry text is just the information which you see in your e-banking, but this information will not be transferred to the beneficiary. And also you have the option to mark it as a salary payment. Salary payment means that some information about IBAN and beneficiary won't be shown in your Bexio account. So if you have more employees who work with Bexio, that nobody can see who get this payment by name or IBAN number. So that is this information, and you can create directly the payment, for example, with an execution date of December, and send it directly to the banking part of Bexio. So we click here on create payment. Now the status has been changed to payment created, and now I have to go to the banking part, and here I see in my bank account on the right, I see I have pending payments, and I click here on the pending payments, and I see on top I see here an amount of 1005 Swiss francs and another one for 170, and so on. You have all these purchases which are in the status payment created here, and here you can choose which one you need to send to your bank. And if you work with a bank which is connected to Bexio, you have this button here, transfer payments, activated. Click on it, and then you have to fill in your e-banking details, and then you have directly a pending payment in your e-banking account. If you work with another bank who has no connection to Bexio, it's also no problem. Then you click here on this drop down to the right, and then you're able to manually download a file, a payment file, and then you upload it from your computer in your e-banking. And then you also have the pending payment in your e-banking part. And then you are finished, and Bexio now waits until you reload the account statements from the e-banking to Bexio, and then Bexio knows when this bill has been paid, and the status will be changed from payment created, payment downloaded, payment transferred to paid at the end of the day. That's the journey of the bills in Bexio. And the other part, the second part, are the expenses. If we go here to the expenses, we also have the new layout like we saw it in the bill part with the columns. We can edit these columns activate or deactivate it, filter these columns, and so on. And if we create a new expense, it has the same look. So on top on the left I see the status. I can connect it to a contact that's additional. So if you need uh, this expense also, for example, in an invoice, then you can connect it to a contact. You can choose the contact, and as soon as you create an invoice on the same contact, you're able to add this expense to the invoice. So for example, now I choose again the same contact. I have the number, I can change the number of this expense. The title is also information which you see in the accounting part. Paid on date is also important for the accounting, like the bank account. I can choose here between my cash, my bank accounts, all the accounts which I see in the banking part. The currency is the same system. If I choose another currency, I can fill in the exchange rate. And then I have to choose the booking account, tax rate, and fill in the amount. On the right, I have the same option to upload the files from the inbox or directly from the computer. At the end, I click here on Save Expense, and the status now has changed from draft to done. And now, if I need to re-invoice this expense, I can create in the sales part a new invoice, which I send to my customer. Choose the same contact. And now on this invoice, I have here the option More Items, Expense. And here I see on top the one 222. That's the one which we created already. Mark the checkbox and add selected items. And now I have the expense on my invoice, which I can re-invoice to a customer so that I get the money back. And if we go back to the expenses, now we see the status has changed from done to invoiced here. That's also the difference. So in the expenses part, you have three status: draft, done if you don't invoice it to a customer, or invoiced. That are the three status which you can see here. That's the whole part, the new purchase part with the bills and expenses which we created. I hope it helps you to start, to get out of it some information and helps you get started with the new purchase part. Wish you a good day and hope to see you soon. Thank you and goodbye.